Hello, everybody. It is Professor Parish, and we are already to week 5. We're through short story. It's crazy that we're already to this point. I feel like we kind of maybe go a little bit slower the first couple of weeks of class, and we spend more time on short story for a couple of reasons. One, because everybody's getting used to the format of the online class, and because we're getting used to how all the assignments and lecture videos are set up, but also because short story is huge. There's a lot of elements that are set up that will come back into play with poetry and with drama, and so I want to spend time kind of going over all of those when we first start, so when we touch back on them later on, everybody will still know what they are. So, with that being said, we are finishing up short story this week. So, there's a couple of assignments that are going to bring a lot of things together. We do not have any readings to go over, so this will be a much shorter lecture video than usual. If you want to go over Chapter 9, it's on Other Voices in our textbook. It's just a sampling of readings from various authors that the textbook deems to be very worthy and part of the canon. So if you get a chance to look through that and just skim through and see what stories they pick out, I would recommend you doing that. But we don't have any full-on terminology to go over this week, so it's going to be a much shorter, faster lecture video. And I'm recording it before the weekend, but I will actually hold off and post this on Sunday night so that you can not feel overwhelmed with just having watched week 4 video and now all of a sudden here's week 5 all over again. So I'm going to wait till Sunday to post this, but please know ahead of time that I'm recording this early. So going into our course content page, you'll notice that we have some brand new types of assignments. Week 4 is still up here, so if you've not completed the assignments for week 4, make sure that you do so by Sunday night. But week 5, we have 3 assignments this week. The one that's probably the most familiar is our discussion forum, which I'll open up here. The discussion forum is nothing unusual or away from status quo, but there are 2 videos that we're watching and then some questions with it. It's by Lindsay Ellis, who did our reading response number 2 video last week. I really like her as a scholar and video essayist, so I'm using her again, and I'll be using her a lot this semester, so hopefully you like her style of humor and methods of presenting information, because I think she's really, really informational and talented in presenting and discussing critical theory about various things. So here she has 2 videos. They're both fairly short. They're only about 5 minutes long each. One is the evolution of science fiction, and one is the ode to the romance novel. So 2 totally separate genres of short story we've not really talked about much this semester. So we're going to just dabble in those a little bit. They're really interesting videos if you like romance novels or sci-fi. It's kind of cool to see the history and evolution of those genres. And then the 3 questions for the discussion forum are just kind of your opinion, like which were you most likely to read? If neither, what genre do you prefer? And then kind of answering some questions about what you're going to take away from this unit. It is a very foundational unit for the rest of literature we're going to talk about this semester. But that's the discussion forum. Pretty easy. Now these 2 assignments are going to be something a little bit different. These are both due Sunday. So the first assignment is going to be our final paper Dropbox. So I will say this about paper 1, because a lot of students at this point start to panic and they think, oh, my paper's it's not perfect, it's not ready, it's not what I want it to be. It's okay, because papers 1, 2, and 3, you do get a chance to revise. So you will get a chance, once I've graded your first paper, to go back and revise the content. Because I've had classes in college where you turn in a paper and you never see it again. You just get a grade and you're expected to move on. And it always frustrated me because I'd go back later and see grammar errors or see like something that my instructor was like, oh, you should have talked more about this. And I'm like, I should have done that. And I always wanted to go back and revise it and resubmit it and say, no, look, I did the thing you wanted me to do. So that's what I want you all to have the chance to do. The revision process is totally optional, and I will talk more about it in week 6. So I'll give you kind of the heads up about what all goes with that. But if you want, you will have the option to revise paper number 1. So if you are stressing out, thinking that your paper is not perfect, and you don't think it's going to get a very good grade, go ahead and submit it by Sunday night. Just submit what you have. Because if you submit something, you will get a chance to revise it. However, if you do not submit an assignment on time, I do not grant you the option of revision and you'll get a 0. That's not good when this paper is worth, as it shows here, 100 points. So I would rather you turn in on Sunday night a paper that's 3/4 of the way done, has bad grammar, and needs to be corrected. I'd rather you turn that in than just to say, oh no, it's not ready, and lose out on all of those points. Okay? So regardless, by Sunday night at 11:55, submit paper 1. And the submission is the exact same Dropbox format as we've done with our other assignments so far. So it's nothing out of the ordinary. It's all pretty standard. But I just want to make that abundantly clear. Our class is pretty balanced, but not getting a paper submitted can really hurt your grade, and it can be hard to bounce back from that. I know students have had this from experience before. It can be hard missing a paper and then coming back and making that grade up. So just be sure to submit something, all right? I promise you, you will get to revise it. It'll be all right. So that's paper 1's Dropbox. The other assignment is our exam. We do have 4 exams in this course and then a final exam. We do an exam over short story. It's labeled fiction here. We do an exam over poetry, and we do an exam over drama. And then we do an exam over MLA, which we're going to talk more in the poetry section about MLA and start to kind of build up from there. So you have 4 exams, and then you have a final exam that's worth, each of these 4 are worth 25 points each, and then the final exam is worth 100. So there's not a lot of high stakes with the fiction exam. If you get anxiety from taking tests, so you're like, oh, it's an exam, it's going to be crazy. No, it is open book because it's an online class. I'm going to assume that you don't just set your book aside and you're like, I'm not even going to look at it for the test. No, look at your book. Use your book. You can use your notes. You can use previous lecture videos I've done. It's all going to be about terminology with fiction and short stories. So use your resources. And, as I will show you, it's not timed. So this should be a very easy exam for you. I always tell my students, with the exams, there is no reason why you shouldn't get a 100 because it's not timed, it's open book and open note. You should all get 100% on this assignment, as long as you submit it by Sunday. So if you've never taken an online exam before, here's basically what you'll do. So when I click on the exam, I get this opened up. It's worth 25 points. It can only be taken 1 time, but there is no time limit. So you have this link right here that starts it. So when I click on this, here's what happens. You'll notice at the top, there's no time limits. There are only 13 questions. Some questions are worth more than others, which you can tell from the side here, which questions are worth 1 point. Or when we scroll down, you'll notice that we've got some matching, and it's worth 10 points. So, and then we have some short answer questions that are worth 2 points. So you can see it's a pretty straightforward. There's a lot of multiple choice here, so it's all right. I try to get a variety of question types just to kind of appease everybody. There is no time limit, so you can go through, you can select your answer that you want. When you do true false, you select one or the other. And then when you do the matching, you can click this drop down and choose which of the answers that you want to match each one. Okay? And then your short answer, you can actually explain your answer below and type it out. And then when you're done, you submit. So once you click the submit button, your exam is sent. It's done. You can't go back and change anything. It's completely submitted, and that was your chance to take the test. However, let's say that you get started on this exam and you get a phone call and someone needs you to go run an errand. And you're like, I've already started my test. What do I do? So what you need to do is you see this Save Progress button. So right here it says it's never been saved. I'm going to click Save Progress. It's going to timestamp it when I saved my progress, which was at 11:20 a.m. I can then click this Exit Exam. When I do that, if I click the Save Progress and then the Exit button, it will take me back to this screen. Now, you'll notice that I can resume the exam or I can turn it in as it is. don't turn it in as it is, because as you can see, I've not answered any of the questions. So if I turned it in now, it would be a 0. So what I want to do is when I get done with my errand, I will come back, I will resume, and it's going to take me back to where I was. Okay. So, and it's going to say progress has never been saved again because I've restarted the test. It's not going to note when I last saved it. It's just going to note, it's going to let me carry on and finish it. And then I can submit the exam when I'm done. And that's pretty much it. Now, if I'm going to exit it, just make sure you save your progress before you exit each and every time. Otherwise, it will only go with the last time you saved. But that's pretty much it. Now, the exam is short enough that you should be able to get it done in a reasonable amount of time. But I always tell students that it's however much work you want to put into it. I've had some students get done with exams like this in 15 to 20 minutes. I've had some students that need to go back and look over the material, get it done in an hour. Some go work on it off and on all week and then turn it in on Sunday. It's whatever you want to do, whatever you're comfortable with. Just note that it is open until Sunday at 11:55. Now, what will happen if I start this exam at 11:50 on Sunday? Well, the drop box is scheduled to close at 11:55. So if you're in the middle of working on this exam at 11:50 and 11:55 hits, it doesn't matter where you are in the test. It will shut the test down, meaning it will stop your test wherever you're at, and what you've completed is what you will get scored on. So if you only get 1 or 2 questions in and it shuts down, the rest is going to be a 0. So having said that, please make sure that you try to start the exam or at least work on it before Sunday. That way you have a chance to save it or get some answers in. Do not wait until Sunday night to start this exam. It's just not a good study habit, not a good practice, because I have had students get to that 11:55 mark and it's submitted the test before they were completed. And that's the due date, so that's when it shuts down. Okay? And also, I would try to start this exam early so that way if you do have any technical issues, you can let me know before Sunday. Okay? 19 out of 20 times, nobody has an issue and everything works great. But you never know. Technology is as such, where I'd rather have you do this early, and if you run into a snag, I can help you, than for you to try to do this at 11 o'clock at night and me be asleep and not be able to answer your questions, because there's a very good chance I will be. So that's pretty much it. That's all we're doing this week is the exam, turning in your paper, and then the discussion forum. So it should be a pretty easy week. There's no reading. There's no terminology to go over. It's just trying to wrap up our fiction and short stories. And I am very, very excited to get to read your papers. I'm super excited. If you submit them early, I'll probably get a chance to read them early. It just depends. But in week 6, I'll talk about revision and we'll start poetry. I know you're psyched. I know you can't wait. I can't wait because I actually really love talking about poetry, and you will see when we get into it. But as always, if you have questions this week with our submissions and exams, please let me know. But otherwise, I am excited to finish up short stories and move on to our next unit. So until week 6, I'll talk to you all again soon. Have a great week. And if you have any questions, just let me know. All right?